So how come we speak about Kundalini Yoga as something from an ancient yogic lineage, and at the same time we say it's made exactly for these fast-changing times? You're asking the right woman. I am Jagat Prem, Kundalini Yoga teacher and trainer. And let me take you into this, not as another spiritual or intellectual concept, but as something you can recognize in yourself. Because if you look truly, honestly, something is changing, right? Not only out there in the world, but in us, in our human system. Things feel faster, more intense, more emotional, more direct, and at the same time less stable. And it's not a random thing. There is more energy available, but it is not yet organized. And when energy increases without organization, without awareness, it does not bring peace. It will amplify what is already there. And you can see this everywhere. People feel more, but they are not at ease. People express more, but they are not stable enough to keep the vision. People have more power, but they are not necessarily more conscious. This is the time we are in. And this is also exactly where the teachings of Kundalini Yoga become relevant. Because what we call Kundalini is not something new. It is not something only for Kundalini yogis. It is not something you get. It's already there in every human being. Because it is the life force itself. If it was not moving in you already, you would simply not be alive. You would not be able to express your humanness. So the question is not, is Kundalini rising or not? The question is, can you hold what is already moving inside you? And you can feel this in a very simple way. There are always two movements in you. One that pulls you inward, into feeling, into doubt, into sensitivity. And there is also one that pushes you outward, into action, into decision, into control. And you move between those two polarities all day long. One moment you feel, and the other moment you act. One moment you open, and the next moment you protect. And that is polarity. And it's also what our mind does all the time. Our mind works in contrasts. It seeks contrast in order to create an image. There is no life without polarity. And in Kundalini Yoga, we describe this as the left and the right energy channels in your body. It's Ida and Pingala. But the teaching is not about those names. The teaching is, can you stay in the center without being pulled left or right? Because when more energy starts to move and you are still caught in one of these two polarities, everything will amplify, everything will become stronger. More emotion, more reaction, more control. And this is what we see right now in the world happening, right? Energy is rising, but it's not centered. It doesn't have a structure. And this is where the real teaching from Kundalini Yoga begins, because Kundalini is described as a dormant, latent energy at the base of your spine. It's a potential that can rise through the central channel, through the energy centers in the body towards union, beyond polarity. And it's important to understand because energy alone does not transform you. It will only amplify what is already there. And a powerful, strong flow of Kundalini energy does not make you a better person. It makes you more of what you already are. So if there is fear, the fear will become stronger. If there is a lot of ego, it becomes more powerful. If there is clarity, it will become more clear. And this is why this time can feel so unstable, because the system is opening, but it is not yet grounded. And there is a very specific point where this becomes visible. And that's the movement from the navel to the heart, from power to relationship, from control to openness. And it's not a small step, although in millimeters, centimeters, we would say it's small, but it is one of the biggest transitions in human consciousness. Because from the navel point, we can act. But the heart has to stay open. You need a strong system. Otherwise, you close again. You overreact. You try to control. And you go back into the same movement. And this is also why that central channel matters so much, Shushumna. It is about presence. It is the space in you that can observe without starting to move immediately. And in Kundalini Yoga, we call this the neutral mind. And this is what we train when we practice Kundalini Yoga. It's not about stopping your feelings, your emotions. It's not stopping your acting. It's not being pulled to left or right. So we work consciously and a lot with our breath, because the breath is a tool that is always available for us. And it regulates our prana, our life force energy. And prana is the energy that runs through our energy channels. We work with the navel because the navel distributes that energy throughout the body. And we work with mantra, we work with nad, because sound, the frequency of sound, organizes energy on a cellular level. And without direction, energy becomes chaotic. This is why in Sikh teachings in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, the emphasis is always on Shabad, on vibration, not on a belief system, but on experience. And also, very important, on humility. As taught by Guru Nanak, because power without humility does not liberate, it just binds. So the practice is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's to stay. Stay with your breath. Stay with your body. Stay present, even when something moves. And this morning I was recording, and I often record like a whole bunch of videos after my morning practice. And I suddenly became aware of my face with the wrinkles. And it was my mind that started the mind games, that started chatting to me. Is this the moment to look like this, to present yourself like this? And it was the moment that I could decide. Do I delete everything, or can I breathe through? Can I accept my imperfections and understanding that this is my practice? Because in Kundalini Yoga, we want to raise awareness, raise consciousness, which means that you become more and more conscious about the moment that you have a choice. And you can learn to hold it, to stay, to live with it. This year is about big changes and chaos and uncertainty, but with practice, it can become a fuel for transformation, for being able to have discernment, to understand that you have a choice, to stay with your breath, to work on your navel, to chant, to listen, to live truthfully. And then what rises in you will not destabilize you or overwhelm you, but it will deepen your knowledge about you, about your Sat.